We'll just pick up where we left off with this. And love these people. Oh, there they are again. It's the TRTBros. I'm obsessed with the TRTBros. Look at how big Rollo is. Big muscular man. All full of testosterone. Both of you are like, yeah, working out like when I was 19. I'm fucking like a beast. Oh! It's Friday, and I'm really wired. I'm overly wired. Tommy Lee, I thank you for all this energy, okay? What did I eat yesterday? Dear God, it was so, invigorating. I'm feeling wonderful, to be honest with you. I'm enjoying myself today. Let's continue where we left off the other day, discussing how men find religion conveniently at the end of a grift. That's Rollo's fucking word. If ever there's a word he says like in 1/3 of all the words ever uttered by Rollo, it's grift. 1/3. That's fucking accurate. I watched his videos. I counted the words he said, and for 1/3 of the words he utters are grift, I swear. Let's go.
For men, then getting a prenup is probably a good idea. That's a red pill belief, right? Doesn't mean it's 100% of the time, but that's what I guess red pill adjacent would mean.
Yeah, I mean, and I do see.
You're red pill aware, red pill
right.
aware.
And what I say is I do see that there are some components, not all, that can be a little bit dark. Like the promiscuity for me is a dark part of it that I don't think is good.
It doesn't all taste good.
Is there no context though? I'm wondering, Jedediah, where a man can be having a healthy appetite for sex, indulging in sex, and that the mutuality of the transactional exchange, a man and a woman having sex, that it's okay because they both want to be doing it and it's not degrading. They're just enjoying one another. All kinds of adults have these kinds of arrangements, like friends with benefits arrangements. I've had them in my life. They've been way more rare than I want, but is it necessarily a dark thing when you have that outlet you find with someone? Or is that always I would call it like a buffer between finding a real relationship where you're deeply, truly satisfied? Because there's always, when you're doing that, the emotional component. Like you can't just be screwing a chick, or a woman can't be screwing a man, and there's not some kind of emotionality tied to it for someone somehow. There's always the emotion, it seems like. Unless she's a dog.
For me is a dark part of it that I don't think is good.
It doesn't all taste good.
Yeah, and I welcome what they're saying, but I was just curious how you guys have been in this space a lot longer than I have, and it's interesting to see people kind of discover a new vision. I mean, Sneeko sounds very different to me.
Okay, but I look at it in this perspective is that when you have a woman who goes through her quote unquote hoe phase, which are 18 to 28, right about 29, 30, 31.
That's a long phase.
That's 10 years.
Right?
Yeah, you used to call it the party phase. Now it's the hoe phase. When did it become the hoe phase? Is hoe synonymous with party phase? And in what sense, if it's a matter of degrees to be red pill adjacent, how many degrees far from hoe is red pill adjacent? Do you understand the nature of my question? I don't know. I thought it was a funny way to phrase it. I'm in that kind of mood today, Rollo. Continue, TRT, bro.
It's when women have the most potential to exercise their sexual agency. So 29, 30, 31 is usually what I peg as the epiphany phase. Yeah. And that's when women want to get right with God, and they want to get back to the church, and they want to find a guy who's going to be the ride or die guy.
He's so familiar with these concepts because he repeats them a lot in his books, repeats them not redundantly, but in a good way, so that if you read through his material, you wind up being able to almost articulate in this labyrinth of philosophical thought is what I will call it for the sake of a better word. Right now, that's what I want to call it. It's philosophical to me. Yeah. Don't tell Ryan it's philosophical because he's like, if you've read philosophy. That's my horrible impression of Ryan's tone. He's like, black eye!
Provisioning and parental investment, and it's usually paired up with this epiphany. That's what I call it, the epiphany phase of I better start living my life right. It's very similar to the prodigal son narrative that I say.
Keep bringing up.
When I see someone like say Lila Rose who's getting married at 33, it's like right on schedule. It's a predictive framework. You're doing exactly what I'm pointing out in every one of my books. It's still a cope.
It's a cope.
Yeah. Because it's like, okay, I learned my lesson. I went out into the wide world and
I want to like bring up this thing I brought up the other day. It's like this pattern you're talking about can be both men and women insofar as you live life sinfully for that period of your young adult life, and you like put those other things on the back burner, and then you get to spiritualism later. So it's like we got this big window, prolonged juvenility. We live it in the United States, and we live like jackasses, drinking, partying, fucking, and then all of a sudden it's over. You're like, oh, I got to straighten up here. I got to grow up. It's time to grow up. You know, no one-night stands, no more shallow dating. It's time to have kids, and so it's just time. Back to what these TRT bros are saying.
My fun, and now I was so wild in my college days. I've had my fun. I'm looking for somebody serious. No fun for you, but now we're going to go and get serious about things. Well, where was that when you were 23 at the top of your game?
I mean, I don't know what she was doing. I don't know how much you know about
just women in general.
I think about that in my own life, and not just about dating and promiscuity and all that. It's like the immature behavior I indulged in, drinking too much, smoking shit tons of pot, and wondering like, honestly thinking within this past week that if I had been more of the mindset I am now, I wouldn't have fucked around at all. Like, because there was only so much time to get certain things accomplished. Like, I would love it if I had 3 to 5 kids right now who were all, like, young adults. I would be delighted if I had that and they were all young adults and they were all, like, extremely good kids. You never know how life will turn out, though, so back to you, fellas.
Epiphany isn't, I should have got married at 23. The epiphany isn't, I shouldn't run
that
through
is,
all those
what
things
I'm
when
saying
I was in
is, that's the epiphany for me. Joking aside, even though I'm like picking on you guys to some extent hugely today, TRT bros, that is the epiphany for me that sometimes after sobering up, I thought, if I went back to 25, and so you have that young body, you have the hair, you can have all this fun, you have all this extra energy in virtue of being that young, would I go back to my old ways? And so for me, the epiphany is that I wouldn't. I like to think that I wouldn't, but suddenly you get that natural testosterone and you're all like, oh my God, noticing women in an extra amplified way again. And when I was younger, I used alcohol a lot as that way of lowering my inhibitions so that I would have the courage to go up and make an impression on women. That's what I did. Now this is kind of what I'm doing. And I put this out there and I'm like, check this out. I'm not crazy in the bar. I'm not drunk. This is what I do. This is the strange sort of way I'm trying to build value for myself in hopes that a woman will see this eventually and maybe go, wow, this guy's fucking serious as fuck about what he's doing. Maybe I should get with him. And then you hear my values percolate out, even though I'm behaving like a wild man a little bit here. It's an act to some extent, but it's also just like a therapeutic, cathartic thing. And I realize right now I'm being exceptionally self-absorbed, but I am trying to tie it into what they're saying just through my own experience, the context of my life. Like, this is not the party phase of my life, obviously, but somehow I'm trying to project my brains out on the world by doing this, my morals, my values, my sense of humor. Does that convey anything to the world at large as far as desirable women to bring them to me? That's what I'm curious about. That's what I'm asking. Now, I could imagine these guys going after me and saying, like, I'm a douchebag or I'm retarded because of my behavior or whatever. But the truth is, they can't hear the intellectual parts in between and just completely dismiss me. And I'm not one to back away. Just because you have a following, like, I will fucking take you toe-to-toe on any idea you want. Just like you say, I will fucking go anywhere to debate you on an issue. Just tell me what it's about and I'll show up. And that's not just to gain clout. That's not just to gain your followers, but for the sake of the idea. I'm willing to have fucking great ideas, and I'm willing to fucking I'm so brilliant and yet so guttural. I'm willing to have brilliant ideas, and I'm willing, if they better the world, I don't need credit. Okay, Rollo seems like the kind of guy who's like, me, I made this up. Even though there's evidence, very strong evidence, that Rollo's ideas are just older ideas repackaged. And I wish right now I could say exactly where I think these ideas Rollo has came from. It was pointed out to me by my cousin. And if he does hear this, and if he hears what I'm saying, tell me who that was, and I will point that out specifically to the audience. But Rollo wants to be like, me. I'm not about me. If an idea is a good idea, you don't need to give me credit. You can take it. You can run with it, okay? Just like I'm Mr. Copy Who. I took all of this from you-know-who, and it's fucking obvious. I take it. I take the idea, but I'm actually willing to give him credit. I'm not saying I would love it if someone's like, "Hey, I'll give you the credit for this idea." Wonderful. But I'm not saying I need credit or else this idea can't benefit other people. If I have an idea that inspires you to write a book, but you never want to give me credit for it, and if your book goes out and helps people, but you never gave me credit for it, I might say, I think that was me, but I still want the ideas out there if they better people's lives. Pay it forward. I don't need the credit, but I appreciate the credit. Don't we all appreciate the credit? I give Rollo credit because even though he didn't originate the ideas, I think he repackaged them. He still repackaged them and branded them in a way that I think has helped countless men, and I would say myself included on that. I love how articulated I am. Just thank you, God, for letting me become so intelligent in my life. Sobering up at 40, I have probably read more fucking books about more stuff all over the map. And so broadly intellectual, I think. And I'm like tooting my own horn. This fucking garrulous, self-aggrandizing shit must stop right now. Where am I? I'm at 55 minutes or 58 minutes? I can't tell. I think 55. All right, so we will continue on with what you're saying just a little bit more, fellas.
Isn't I should have made better decisions when I was younger. The epiphany is I need to get right with God now, and then why aren't these men stepping up to deal with the decisions I make, like the Sheryl
like
Sandberg
lining up
book?
I've realigned myself.
I've made this realization that I should not be held accountable. I should not be held accountable for anything I did in the past. Mia Khalifa. I should not be held anything I did in the past.
That's
and so
bullshit.
Because of that, because you're holding me accountable.
If you want accountability is the fucking blueprint of life, because we're talking about religion here. So you have to account for your life when you die. That's what we're talking about. If you have faith, you can't say that stuff didn't matter. Of course it fucking mattered. I've made the biggest mistakes of my life when I was younger, and I don't let myself... If you forget about those things, then you're never really developing and growing wisdom in order to go forward and be a better person. That was a great point I made. Better than you guys. No, actually, we're all making great points here. I'm just picking on these guys because TRTBros sitting next to one another, homoeroticism, yippee!
Misogynist, why are you not stepping up? Why are you not accepting me for this truth that I am right now? And the thing is, I don't hate you.
Go on the attack!
I just found a 21-year-old girl that I'm dating.
Attack! Oh, man.
I'm just not going to wait for you. Why can't you exercise that?
Self-control to fulfill where I'm at right now.
I can't do that today.
Because the Lord has forgiven me. Why can't...
But it's a fucking whole process of life, maturing and growing. And people, when they're younger... I did it too. We're like the whole fucking culture in the United States and the Western world. It encourages prolonged adolescence. It encourages people to just be immature for as long as possible. 100 years ago, I bet you 15-year-old girls were way more serious than they are now, just as an example. It's the world, it's the culture we're in, this fucking postmodern relativist, emotionalist reality. Anything goes. Secularism, Satanism up the ass at every turn. Literally and metaphorically. Ooh.
Let's go forward.
Satan's up my butt.
And by the way, it's those red pill sons of bitches who've been teaching these guys to not get with me
about vasectomies.
Now that I need them the most.
If you like the short.
Okay, that was very good. I appreciate, notwithstanding all of my asinine fucking behavior and my picking on them, the backhands I give all of you must also be accompanied by some appreciation for the thought you bring to the community. This is just the way I decide to interpret and entertain at the same time from all the things you say to make it interesting. Hopefully people someday, somehow will think this is interesting. I gotta amp it up. Otherwise people aren't gonna give a shit.